Welcome back, everybody. Sorry for the restart. So, anyways, I'll just try to do that intro again, but quicker this time. So, is Trump down and out? Is it possible that he could still win the election? Well, it's definitely harder for him now than it was a day or 2 days ago, but I'll map out various ways that he could still win the presidency. He's not down and out. I can tell everybody that much right now. So, according to the county map, Arizona and Nevada are finished counting. Long story short, Trump did not win in those states. So let's very quickly, and for anybody who was watching there, I've skipped a lot of this stuff so you don't have to hear it all over again, right? So I'm basically starting right off from where I ended that video for the sake of you guys watching. So Arizona and Nevada, right? Is Trump down and out for them? Or is there a possibility that there could be a recount? Because they are quite close. In Arizona, the difference between Trump and Biden was only 11,000. I actually rounded that up. It's more like 10,500 or something. But whatever, just 11,000. And in Nevada, it's a bit more. Uh, Trump was about 34,000 votes behind. So, what does the law say in Arizona? Well, according to Arizona, unless the law is flexible, Trump is not within the designated range for a recount to be viable, right? So, I think, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know if there are loopholes and whatever, or if you can demand a recount. I don't know all that. But going by the books, what I see, Arizona's out. So Trump cannot use Arizona to win anymore. So that's 11 points gone. Okay? Now, Nevada, however, I have heard that you can decree that you want a recount done and you have to pay like a fee or something. But I think that in Nevada, a recount can just be done. So because of this, even though Trump's 34,000 votes behind, still that's not an astronomical number. I think at a recount, it's perfectly reasonable to assume that 5 or 15,000 votes would be different. Even the spokesman from Georgia said they expect to see differences, probably by thousands of votes, just naturally. So it's possible that Trump could get the 6 points from Nevada if they do a recount there. And I know that Trump is going to push for a recount in whatever state he possibly can. So that's where those states rest right now. In terms of Pennsylvania, the county map still shows it being counted. We know in the news that Trump is winning lawsuits. He won lawsuits, and they cannot count certain ballots that are basically invalid in Pennsylvania anymore. So the theory was that a lot of these bogus ballots were going for Biden. So we'll have to wait and see. Maybe a bunch of them were for Trump. You never know. But supposedly he won the lawsuits there. So, and I know he's pushing for a recount. But according to what the law says, Trump is not within the range to do a recount. He's 68,000 votes behind in Pennsylvania. But I somehow have a nagging feeling that from their nagging, they're going to get a recount done there because of all the suspicion over votes and this and that and whatever. So if a recount is done in Pennsylvania, or if that much of a difference is found, like if they disqualify all those questionable ballots, questionable votes, then maybe that could actually work in Trump's favor. So I don't think Trump is down and out in Pennsylvania. I would say he's down and out in Arizona, unless they can work magic and get a recount. But I think Pennsylvania, there's still a window of opportunity for Trump there. So that's that state. Now, up in Maine, Biden is leading by too much. I don't think Trump could get the point. I do believe there is 1 point remaining for a candidate to grab in Maine. It would be advantageous if Trump could grab that point because then he could do a third option, a different path of different combination of states to win with in order to get the presidency again. Um, but so I won't really focus on that 1 point, but there is a slim possibility that they could do a recount there or push for a recount there. But I just don't think he's going to get that point. I won't absolutely rule it out though. So what are Trump's viable options then? Well, one is Georgia. Strangely, the county map shows Georgia being finished, and I think this is because when the state map doesn't, it's usually the other way around. Um, I think this is because Georgia stopped doing their actual counting and they started doing recounting. This is why. So a recount is happening in Georgia. So that's just what that is. So we have to wait and see. Now Trump was only behind 14,000 votes there. So that is definitely within the realm of possibility that Trump could get Georgia. That's 16 points. Now, if Trump got Georgia, he would have 232 plus 16, he'd have 248. Now, this is one of the paths to victory that Trump has. If Trump can get Georgia, and if he can get Pennsylvania, there's basically two main branches of opportunity here. One is just Georgia, involves just Georgia plus other states, and the other option is Pennsylvania and Georgia plus other states, right? So those are the two main branches. So if Trump can get Georgia and Pennsylvania, that's going to give him 36 points on top of his 32. That right there gives him 268. He's only 2 points away from getting the presidency. Okay? So he only needs any one of the following states: Nevada or Wisconsin, and the slim possibility of Arizona, although I said it's probably ruled out for him. But Nevada or Wisconsin. So long story short, if he got Pennsylvania, if he got Georgia, and either Nevada or Wisconsin, he would win the presidency. Okay, that is a legitimate path. Now Georgia's being how much of this relies on recounts? I think the odds of Trump winning I don't think Trump can win without recounts being done. I don't even think stuff is even being counted. I mean, Pennsylvania is technically possible. That's why I don't want to say it's impossible he could win without recounts. But no, I think that is true. But it's just one of those word technicalities because Pennsylvania isn't finished. However, Georgia's already being recounted, so it's kind of a moot point. So anyways, Trump basically cannot win without the recounts, but we're already at the recount stage. So what he needs to do is get Pennsylvania, Georgia, and one of those two states. That's what needs to happen. Georgia is already being recounted. Okay. Pennsylvania is still being counted. Okay. Could possibly be recounted. And Nevada, like I said, is open for recount anytime, and we all know that they're going to push for one there. Okay, again, Nevada, Trump was behind by 34,000, which is slightly more, but it's not impossible if a recount is done. Now, also, to add to this, like icing on the cake, in any one of these states, investigations into voting fraud are going to be pursued. Okay, I know they already are in a bunch of states, but in any of these states that are needed by Trump to win the presidency, they are obviously, logically, going to pursue investigation of fraud, vote fraud. Okay, which could work to their advantage if they discover there was actual fraud, like fake Biden votes or anything fishy happening, like vote swapping and this and that there, right? So that will also work in Trump's favor. There is not a huge margin for Trump to cross. There isn't a big hurdle. You know, it's definitely gotten harder, but there is still a possibility. As long as Georgia and Pennsylvania remain, then Trump can win it. He cannot win with just, like I said, Arizona's probably out. He cannot win with just Wisconsin and Nevada. That's only 16 points. He has to get Pennsylvania and Georgia. Now, like I said before, there are two branches. One is Pennsylvania and Georgia plus one of the other two states. Or he could just get Georgia. This is in the case if he doesn't get Pennsylvania at all, right? After recount, before recount, who cares? If he doesn't get Pennsylvania, he would have to get Georgia, Wisconsin, Nevada, and also Arizona. So that's a very slim possibility that he would be able to get recounts done in Wisconsin and especially Arizona. Okay, so but it's still a legitimate possibility. So I'm leaving that on the table. Very slim chance. I would say probably 5% chance that would ever happen, and he would win through that option, right? But the first main branch, Pennsylvania, Georgia, and one of those other two states, I would say, I don't know, I'm just going by feeling, probably 33% chance. So I just gumption, right? I think there's probably like a 33% chance that Trump will win the presidency. I don't think it's really 50-50. Probably like under 50%. But he's not down and out. He is just not down and out. In fact, when you add up the number of votes he is behind, so if we look at that one main branch, Pennsylvania, Georgia, and say Nevada, that's one of three paths he can use to win there. There's four paths in total that he can use to win. Right? So Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Nevada. That'll give him 274 electoral votes. Okay? And right now he is 116,000 votes behind satisfying that path. That's actually the highest. If he got Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Wisconsin, he would get 278 electoral votes. So even more electoral votes, and he would only need 102. He's only 102,000 votes behind for that. Okay, but that's spread over 3 states. Okay, so that's not a ridiculous amount to be behind. 116 starting to go up a little high, but 102,000, that's not that much. If theoretically, I doubt it, he could fight and get a recount in Arizona, and he got that. That added to the mix of Pennsylvania and Georgia would only require him gaining an extra 93,000 votes, because he's 93,000 behind. But I kind of think that's unlikely. So if he got Pennsylvania, Georgia, Wisconsin, the easiest path of those 3 for Trump would be he's 102,000 votes behind, right? But he'll end up with 278 electoral votes. Now, how about that second branch? How many votes would he need for that? That's actually the least. If he could get Georgia, Arizona, which, like I said, it would be hard to fight for recount, but if he could get Georgia, Arizona, Wisconsin, and Nevada, he's only 79,000 votes behind on that. So ironically, that's got the least amount of votes he's behind, but it's also the slimmest chance of him feasibly being able to do that. One second. So that's basically where Trump stands. But that's not the only way that he could become elected again and win the presidency, because, like I was saying in the first take, which I had to restart, you have, I think they're called the electors in each state, and they have the legal right and legal power to disregard the popular vote, disregard who's projected to have however many electoral, the electoral vote win for that state. They can disregard all of that and go by their own decision. So if that happens in a few states, that alone, just that, with or without recounts at all, right? But it would only take a few electors to do that for Trump to win. Because as we could see from these past year, Trump is only essentially 3 states behind winning. He's got 3 combinations of winning 3 states that could win him the presidency, plus 1 combination of 4 states that could win him the presidency. That's the 5% chance one, right? The hardest to get. So it's only 3 states. So you just need, say, for example, Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Nevada. For those 3 electors, or however many there are, but for the electors for those 3 states to say, no, you know what, I think it should go to Trump. And if that happens, boom, he's got 274 and he wins. Or if Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Arizona do it, boom, he's got 279 and he wins. Or if Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Wisconsin do it, then boom, he has 278 and he wins. So 3 possible scenarios, right? More realistically, 2 scenarios, because like I said, Arizona is a far-fetched scenario. But still, that right there is 2 pretty reasonably realistic scenarios that could happen, plus the third with the electors, like I said. So I think Trump has 3 reasonable scenarios where he could win the presidency. Altogether, he has 5 scenarios, but like I said, 2 of them, because they involve Arizona, a little bit more far-fetched. Probably won't happen. So that's where we sit right now. Then we also have the one-off weird chance maybe there's a recount done, or maybe there doesn't need to be recount done, and maybe Trump will get that point from Maine. If by some weird bizarre chance there's a recount done and he does get that 1 extra point from Maine, that would actually make a little difference somewhat, but it's not worth getting into all the mix. It's just not worth getting into, and I highly doubt it will happen. It also involves needing to get Arizona, but essentially, if he got that 1 other point from Maine, you'd have 233, and then you'd add to that Georgia, Arizona, Wisconsin. So it wouldn't require Pennsylvania. That's the important thing. You could cut Pennsylvania out, because Georgia would be 16, Arizona would be 11. That's 27. Wisconsin is 10. That's 37. Maine, the 1 point from Maine would be 38, and he's at 232. So that would give him 270 because he only needs 38 points. So it would work. It'd be nice if he could get it if he can't get Pennsylvania, but it's a little far fetched. So that's where we are with Trump. And how good was my time there? 15 minutes. That's pretty decent. I'm happy with that. So while I'm here, maybe I'll talk a few more minutes on something. I've heard a lot of very interesting things regarding this fraud and all of that. And quite frankly, I mean, this is definitely worth talking about, because if the fraud is investigated and if they prove that there was fraud and it has caused an issue with hundreds of, like Giuliani's saying, there's like 400 and something thousand votes, where there might even be more. I could be wrong. Like at least 400 and something thousand votes, which should be thrown out. Giuliani said, right? And I think they actually won for that in Pennsylvania, like court cases over it. Like they cannot count these invalid votes because there's all these different ways that fraud was being done. Votes are coming in late after the deadline. Legally, you can't count them, but they had been counted in a bunch of states, right? So they're getting them invalidated, right? Whether they were for Biden or Trump, time will show, right? And what difference all that made. But that's one way. Another way is, allegedly, there's evidence that a number of votes were backdated, which is wrong. You're not allowed to do that, or it's actually a crime, one of the two. Duplicate votes, like one person voting twice, you know what I mean? And another case more electronically where votes would literally duplicate, where say Biden will get 10 votes, but it duplicates it to be 20 in the system. Or cases where Trump got 20,000 votes and all of a sudden they disappear from Trump and appear on Biden's tally, right? So we have all these different and lots more different cases of fraud and vote harvesting and just all sorts of things. So if all that's investigated, you know, and any of those allegations turn out to be true, you could see millions of votes being thrown out. And then it's just up to what time shows. Time will tell whether it works in Biden's favor or in Trump's favor, right? So the theory is, but that has to be proven, that a lot of the fraud votes are going for Biden. And why? Because we know that half of America hates Trump with a passion. They want him out badly. Even the Democrats and the politicians have been saying it on TV for 4 years. You know, they said it was a coup. They said they want him out. They want him impeached. They're going to impeach him if he wins again. Right away, the first day, they'll file for impeachment again. I mean, they've wanted him out. The American people hate Trump. There's no surprise that some people will be pushed to the limit to break the law and commit voter fraud. Because in their mind, if Trump was to win again, they would go insane, so to speak. You know what I mean? So people would be pushed to that extent. And likewise, some people on Trump's side might be for in the same ways, but just the reverse. They might feel pushed to do that type of fraud to make Trump win because they're so scared of Biden's socialist plans. I mean, all things across the board, but time will tell. But they need to investigate all that stuff because right now there's so much talk of fraud, and Giuliani saying there's thousands of witnesses, a number of them assigned affidavits. You know, if they lie, they could go to jail. They're not going to come out here and make all this stuff up. You know what I mean? What do they have to lose? You know what I mean? So that's where it is. So let's go take a look at what the total count for Trump and Biden is. I like looking at the total count numbers because it's fun to watch them fly up for Trump when the votes come in, right? But Trump is at 73,125,000. Biden's at 78,760,000. So some mental math real quick. That's 5 million right off the bat. 5,600,000 and 40. So 5,640,000. That's quite a figure behind. It's also kind of suspicious how Joe Biden can get, I hear, the highest vote count ever, or in recent history at least. It's suspicious how he gets almost 10 million more votes than Hillary, the first female potential president, got. Also suspicious that he got almost about 10 million more than Barack Obama, the first black or African American president, whichever one you prefer it to be called. Just pretend I said whichever one you prefer. Okay, the first black president. Okay, it's just odd that Joe Biden, this nobody who came out of the woodwork like some wood elf out of a tree, like, oh, hello, like a Keebler elf out of the tree. He's a no-name politician. Nobody cares about. Yeah, he was vice president for Barack Obama, but he's so forgettable. Like nobody, unless you're a politics nerd, you did not know or care about who Joe Biden was. He was a nobody that got sucked up under Barack Obama's feet while he was president. That's it, right? So the fact that Joe Biden's running for president now, it's just like, oh, wow, you know what I mean? It's like bargain bleach. It's just like not exciting. Like, okay, yay, it's 99 cents. It's made in China. Good, wow, exciting, you know what I mean? It's like about as exciting as saltine crackers. That's Joe Biden. Like, he's definitely an old cracker. He's about as exciting as a box of opened saltine crackers, right? So, um, and he didn't campaign. His rallies brought nobody to them. So how in the world does Joe Biden, this boring old cracker, win the election by such a landslide? You know what I mean? It's just really weird. And he won the top 23. I mean, he probably won more, but I meticulously, in one of my recent streams, went through the top 23 of all the most populated highest populated counties in America, and he won all the top 23. Like I said, if I kept going, he probably would have won the rest too, right? But the top 23, what are the odds of that? And I think I already said, if you look at the map of America, it's 85% red, literally. That's out of the 3,000 plus counties, 85% of them, literally, physically, are red, won by Trump. So how in the world does Biden, with about 14%, so 14% of America's blue, that's the little blue dots in there, how in the world does he win with that? It's because somehow the highest populated counties in each state were targeted, and it appears that somehow hundreds of thousands of extra votes went to Biden there. In one case in Clark County, Illinois, he got 1 million extra votes over Trump. Just a little weird. In Los Angeles, California, he got 1.5 million extra votes over Trump. But California is a hot spot for Biden, but still, right? I mean, from those two counties alone, Los Angeles and Clark County, he got 2.5 million extra votes over Trump. That's not even to say, like, if you actually counted up how many votes he got for himself from those two counties, that would be even more. But just the surplus over Trump from those two counties gave Biden an edge of 2.5 million. And we just saw his lead, what was it? 5.6 million lead. So that's half his lead came from two counties alone. The surplus in two counties. It's just bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. Actually, while I'm here, Cook County. Biden got 1.6 million in Cook County. Let's go find Los Angeles. I have no clue. I know it's in California. I have no clue where it is. I know it's blue though. Where is the mighty Los Angeles? Here, Los Angeles. There we go. He got 3 million in Los Angeles. So what was that? 3 plus 1.6. So he got 4.6. It's 4.68. So basically 4.7 million votes just from those two counties alone. And you have 3,148 counties in America. But just from two of those 3,148 counties, Joe Biden got 4.7 million votes. And his lead over Trump is only 5.6 million. All that just seems weird and like a red flag to me. Like, I know they're just highly populated places, but it's the surplus over Trump that he won by. If it was closer, a couple 100,000 votes, yeah, you wouldn't be so suspicious. But you got 1 million surplus over Trump in Cook County, 1.5 million surplus over Trump in Los Angeles. You know, that just makes it a little fishy. And the other thing is, looking at this map, because it physically is, literally is, 85% solid red for Trump. I spent about half an hour looking at this, rearranging the little dots, you know, not literally, because I can't do that, but just seeing where I could fit these blue dots. So there's so few blue dots around America. I found that you could take all of Joe Biden's blue dots, which are all of the counties that he actually won in, out of the 3,148. You could take all his blue dots and fit them in Texas, Florida, California, and New Mexico. Every single county that Joe Biden won could fit inside Florida, Texas, New Mexico, and California. That's not even the whole bottom layer of America. It's not even that. It's one state, skip a state. One state, then skip 1, 2, 3 states, and then boom, little old Florida. That's it. That's because it's only about 14, 15% of America's counties that Biden won. That's how few there are. The vast, like, the crazy part is because California and Arizona and New Mexico went like 2/3 blue anyways, the entire rest of America has so few blue dots. The rest of America could fit in Texas alone. All of those blue dots, everything, could fit inside Texas alone. Right? So, I mean, Florida's so small. I mean, technically, you didn't even have to have that first analogy I said. Right? Literally, 2/3 to 3/4 of the continental America, in terms of Joe Biden's counties that he won, could fit inside of Texas. The only other blue that you would have would be California, New Mexico, and Arizona. That's it. I mean, that's a bit ridiculous. And it seems preposterous to think that he actually won and beat Trump by such a historic landslide. But Joe Biden said, I feel confident in the results of this election. You know, despite the fact that for 4 years they cried foul and said, Russian collusion, Russian collusion, Russian collusion. Oh, he cheated to get elected. There was election fraud, right? For 4 years. But now, when Trump and Trump's side is saying, oh, there's potential fraud, Biden and them are like, oh, that's ridiculous. There can't be any fraud. You know what I mean? That statement is very, very true and needs to be repeated, and needs to be repeated by many, many people, because that is what is happening. That's how duped they think we are. That for 4 friggin' years they can bitch, moan, and complain, Russian collusion, election fraud, but then all of a sudden, in the span of 7 days after this election's done, we find physical evidence of fraud, but yet there's no such thing as fraud. Oh, you're just imagining it. Oh, it was just individual cases. It's not widespread. Oh, 1,000 witnesses. Oh yeah. It's not widespread. You know what I mean? In almost every state, there's all this evidence found. Oh, no, it's not widespread. You're just a sour grouch for losing the election. You know what I mean? That's what they're saying. There's such... I can't even think of a word for that. I don't think hypocrites is the right word. All I can think of is freak. Because I can't think of another word. Like, the Democrats are acting like freaks, for lack of a better term. For the very fact that they're doing that right now, tangibly. Like, anybody could see that. Turn on the news. Oh, Donald Trump and this hoax that there is election fraud. There's no evidence of it. You know what I mean? Oh, really? So, they just want to clear out. And I made my little prediction the other day. I know some people saw it. I don't want to believe it's true. My prediction was that Joe Biden would, before recounts are done and finalized, right, or fraud of investigation for fraud, but ignoring those things, that just naturally Joe Biden would win the election, like round 1, right? That's what I predicted, and I predicted that he would have a final lead, like before any recounting and all that was done, like the final lead after everything is actually counted, right, would be 6 million, I think it was 135,000, right? And it's actually climbed from about 5 million yesterday to 5.6 right now. And it would weird me out a little bit if it actually did end up as 6.135 million. But I mean, who really cares if it does? But it would just kind of creep me out that I got it right. But it does kind of look like it's going that way. There's a little bit more counting left, so you never know. But I don't wish that for Donald Trump. I want Donald Trump to win. So now let's check out Pennsylvania, because Pennsylvania is so important. Let's go check out where Trump is. I think I said he's 68,000 votes down in Pennsylvania. Let's see if that has changed since I started the video. That's the fun with election vote counts, because they can come in any time. Has it changed? It'll be... What? What the heck? Oh, hold on. Maybe I should get a calculator out. If that's hold up one sec. Need to add 368 onto 354. My brain's just too tired. I don't feel like adding that up in my head. Let me open up a calculator here. Okay, 358. What was it? 354 plus 68. 354 plus 68 equal 422. Okay. I think Joe Biden might have gone up, unless I was rounding it before. Joe Biden might have gone up 1,000 because it seemed a little bit higher there. Like the gap looks bigger there. That's why I wanted to work it out. How about Georgia? Well, I guess there's no point looking at Georgia if they're recounting it. I kind of wish they would recount Illinois, but that's the problem with the law, and I need to say this again. I think it's a stupid law. I mean, if there's election fraud, the whole point of election fraud is to make the other person win, right? So what if there's really bad election fraud and the person wins by 5%? Then by law, you can't do a recount because it's 5%, the gap's too big. But that's stupid, you see what I mean? It can be abused. So basically what the law is set up, the way the law is set up now, it teaches people to, hey, if you're going to cheat big, and then you'll get away with it. Like, that's basically it. Like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. But, you know, they should fight for a recount in Illinois, because I just think the whole thing of Cook County is so stupid, man, and fishy. Like, Illinois is, like, almost solid red. Biden only got, like, a handful of counties blue here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Is that 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? 9 or 10. I'm not going to count it again. And at most, he's got like 2 counties going light blue for him, right? 3 maybe, right? That's it. Everything else, and there's probably like 2 or 3 dozen, maybe more counties here in this that are all solid red. We still won it, all because of Cook County and well, Kane and Will County are also somewhat large, but Cook County is massive, man, in terms of population. So anyways, that's enough for the video today. That's where Trump stands. I have to take it day by day and see what happens, because if they declare there will not be a recount in Pennsylvania, then obviously you rule that one out. And as soon as you rule out Pennsylvania, George, as soon as you rule out Pennsylvania, Trump is in a worse situation, because it's pretty much screwed then. Yeah, that's a good point. If he cannot get Pennsylvania, the problem is you need to resort to that other branch, as I called it, Georgia, Arizona, Wisconsin, Nevada. I found out it's supposed to be pronounced Nevada, supposedly. So anyways, I don't think you can get Arizona, because I don't think you can do a recount there. So if he loses Pennsylvania, I think he's probably screwed. That's that. So he needs to get Pennsylvania, really speaking. I'm glad I dwelled on that before I ended the video. So anyways, let's all pray for Trump. Hope he wins. And if Biden becomes president, let's just pray that even if he destroys America, let's pray at least he doesn't destroy the world by starting a nuclear war. Let's just hope and pray for that. Anyways, God bless you all, folks.